Getting smooth video, getting that cinematic shot, it's what attracts most of us to purchasing a gimbal. It's about wanting to up our game, to improve our content, but most importantly, to be proud of our work. Never before have the capabilities delivered by a gimbal been so affordable. This is a review of the Zhiyun Crane 4. It's a gimbal that offers significant upgrades over previous models, better ergonomics, all-day battery life, and easier than ever to set up and calibrate. But is it right for you? And if so, which package should you get? The base model or the combo? Stick around as I'll answer each of these questions. I've owned many gimbals, from the DJI Ronin S to the Zhiyun Weebill S to the Crane 2S. I need a lightweight, portable, ergonomic gimbal that's not only intuitive, but allows me to get the shot the first time, to have all the controls at my fingertips, reducing the complexity and provide immediate control over the camera. The Crane 4 weighs 3.68 pounds or 1.67 kilos, much lighter than the Crane 3 at 2.4 kilos or 5.28 pounds. Controls are grouped together for easy thumb and finger access. The front trigger performs calibration, sets the default mode, and enters go mode among other functions, while the wheel provides camera adjustments including ISO, shutter, aperture, focus, and zoom, as well as gimbal controls including roll, tilt, and pan axis adjustments. And if you don't like the default settings, they're customizable in the menu, found on the touchscreen on the back. And the touchscreen provides the same sensitivity as your modern smartphone, making adjustments easy. The joystick provides directional control, providing smooth control over the camera. Then there's the mode and record button, everything right at your fingertips. Pan follow mode is the mode I shoot most of the time, especially when I want to do hero shots, making the subject look more heroic, powerful, and dominant. The tilt axis and roll motors are locked, and the camera rotates with the handle while panning. A big thanks to Aurora BMW for allowing me to use their space. It's also great for off-roading. In this scene, I'm riding my bike while operating the Crane 4 in sling mode. Follow mode extends pan mode, giving you tilt up and down control, whereas in locked mode, all motors are locked, keeping the camera focused ahead, never veering off, while POV mode frees up all motors, allowing the camera full range of movement. Vortex mode is fun and more of a creative mode, allowing you to rotate the camera around your subject or object. And portrait mode, well, it's great for those people who like to hang their televisions vertically or produce content solely for TikTok. And the last mode, Go mode, is the only mode not accessible through the mode button. Instead, long press the trigger button to enter Go mode. And for those moments where you need a little extra light, the Crane 4 has a bicolor light with a temperature range of 2700 to 5500 degrees, and that's at 3200 LUTs. And it comes with a small diffuser. It's certainly not a very powerful light, but it's handy for those situations where you do need a little extra light. But obviously it doesn't replace a proper lighting setup. But capturing outdoor events like Halloween where your subject isn't too far away when doing run and gun work, it does come in handy. I appreciate the wrist guard. It takes pressure off my wrist for long days of shooting. And if you do want to capture footage on a bike or even a car, a sling arm is definitely a must. However, to get the sling arm and the wrist guard, you need to purchase the combo at $749. It's well worth the extra price over the standard kit, priced at $649. But if you act now, they're both on sale. I remember the days when we used to shoot with gimbals that would cost in the tens of thousands of dollars, and that's per day for an individual gimbal, and they certainly used to weigh an awful lot more. Now with the Crane 4, we can get shots for well under $1,000, and with a payload of 13.2 pounds. The Crane 4 has the power and the clearance to support really heavy payloads, such as shooting with the Sony FX6, the Canon EOS R5C, and the Canon C70, among all these other cameras. But how easy is it to set up the Crane 4? Is it rather simple? Is it one of those things where you set it up once and you don't have to recalibrate at some other point? Well, to be honest with you, the first time you do set up a gimbal, it's going to be a little bit confusing and convoluted. But there are some really great videos on Zhiyun's site that take you step by step through doing this, such as this video here. I've got a link to that video in the description down below, and I highly recommend you following it. Once you've set it up the first time, it does become a lot easier. And once you've set it up, you can use the auto calibration. Now let's say you take the camera off, and let's say you were shooting with the 24-105, and now you're shooting with the 50mm. Well, you're going to want to rebalance it again, but it's not going to take you nearly as long. And once you've got it set up, then do that auto calibration once again. But again, one thing that's very important to understand is, even if you don't change the lens, let's say you're shooting with a zoom lens such as the 24-105, and you were shooting with mostly 35mm, but now you're going to shoot it to, or you're going to switch to 50 or 70mm. That's going to throw the camera off balance. Now it's still going to be able to do the work, and you're not going to have to recalibrate, but it's highly recommended that you do. At least take a few seconds, maybe 30 to 60 seconds, and just adjust it a little bit, and you should be fine. And if you choose to shoot with a zoom lens and change your focal distance without rebalancing or calibrating, pay very close attention to the motors. Each motor has a balance indicator. White means it's balanced. Red, well, not so much. And even if you don't get the balance perfect, it will still operate. However, it will wear those motors prematurely and greatly decrease battery life, which, if balanced correctly, will give you 12 hours of use. That's 12 hours of being turned on, doing its things, balancing. That's an awful long time. I spent the better part of Saturday some 6 to 8 hours using the gimbal. Now, it wasn't always turned on, and neither was the camera. And when I got to the end of the day, I noticed that I'd only dropped 1 bar on the battery indicator. 12 hours is an awful lot of time, and if you get to the point where you do use it up on an entire day, you're working yourself too hard. But one thing I would recommend, if you're in one of those professional scenarios where you are going to be shooting long days, where if you're in television, and we all know you've got anywhere from 12 to 16 days as the norm, you're not just going to have one of these guys, you're actually going to have about a whole case of them, probably 3 to 5 of them. I would not, if you're in a production environment, just have a single gimbal. Now, when it comes to charging up this unit, it takes about 2 hours to fully charge it up. But if you're in the rush, I think it does a fast charge up to about 80% in just under an hour. So that's pretty impressive. Very impressive in terms of the battery life. Unlike the Crane 2S, the Crane 4 doesn't have removable batteries. And I do have the Crane 2S. It's actually right behind me right here. You know what? I never replaced the batteries. I never bought a spare set of batteries. It gives you an idea how long these things last. So while I do miss those detachable, rechargeable batteries, I can't really say it's gotten in the way of my shooting. I've been using gimbals for a lot over the past few years, from shooting my son riding a bicycle to just those shots where I want to get perfectly smooth video. Or, you know, I'm shooting product shots such as cars, where having a gimbal is really a necessary part of the trade. But I have to say, the big benefit of the Crane 4 over its previous model, such as the 3, the 2S, is its ergonomics. When I first reviewed the Weebill 2S, I was really impressed with how ergonomic it was. Like, for example, here, this is the wrist guard that I'm talking about right here, and this is the sling arm. And it's just, when you've got a payload of 5 pounds on this thing, such as the R5 with the 50mm f1.2, the wrist guard and the sling arm makes shooting a whole lot easier. And if you're going to be shooting those low shots, if you're going to be shooting product shots, or a lot of the shots I was shooting of cars in this video, then that sling arm, that sling arm, which you're swinging around, really comes in handy. And it has, well, you can adjust the length of it, so that really does make a difference too. So if you've got a heavy payload, then you want to have it all the way extended. Really makes a huge difference. I highly recommend getting the combo unit. And the nice thing about this arm too is, if you loosen it, it actually comes all the way to the side. So you can hold it this way here, which gives you a bit more stability, at least for you. You don't feel off kilter. You don't feel like part of your body's taking all the weight. The ergonomics, the way you've got everything at your fingertips, like right on the front, you've got your wheel, you've got the trigger button, and here you can easily access the mode button on the back, the record button, the joystick, And of course, you've got a touch screen right here. And especially when you're using two arms to hold the gimbal, it's very easy to use your thumb to, well, press and touch things on the view screen, the LCD or the mode button. Now, without that, shooting in a slightly different mode, it is a bit, your thumb won't be as, well, ambidextrous to be able to reach all those buttons, but as you shoot with it more and more, trust me, it's just going to be so much easier to work and shoot with. And I love the tripod here. That's really, really handy, especially when shooting. Sometimes I use the sling arm, sometimes I use the tripod, and of course when I'm kind of done, I need to take a break, I want to put it in standby mode, just switch out the tripod, and it's good to go. Have I missed anything? There's obviously an awful lot to cover here. I didn't go into depth with the different modes. One of the reasons for that is, whether it's Ronin, DJI, or anybody else, you've pretty much got the same modes. The mode that I found the most useful when I shoot, not just for this review video, but in my daily life, is pan follow. I love how it gives me that cinematic smooth video. And another thing that makes a huge difference too, you might notice how things seemed very, very smooth in this video. That's because a lot of the times I was shooting in 4K at 120 frames per second. So the Canon EOS R5 with IBIS, this gimbal, and 4K 120 gives you an absolutely stunning cinematically smooth video. And one of the reasons why I shoot in 120 frames per second when shooting with a gimbal is because you've always got the slow motion there. You can always speed things up and go in regular speed if you want to, but you can't always go, if I shot in, for example, 4K 30, I can't then go to 4K 120 without it looking incredibly choppy. However, if you are going to be doing that and you shoot with a Canon, definitely have your talent mic'd up, because one of the problems is the Canon EOS R5 Mark I doesn't have audio when it's recording slow motion. Now, other cameras such as Sony, Nikon, they do this, but not with the Canon EOS R5. And if you're interested in buying the Zhiyun Crane 4, I've got my affiliate links down below, as well as direct links to Zhiyun themselves. And if you have any questions regarding the Zhiyun Crane 4, then go ahead and post them in the comment section down below. I'm not going to be getting rid of the Crane 4, nor am I going to be getting rid of the Crane 3S, because I shoot with these things day in and day out. So if you have any questions regarding these gimbals, then you can post them not just today, but if this video is 6 months old, a year or 2 years old, and you're looking at buying it, go ahead and post a question and I'll respond to you, as I do with all my review videos. You see, I don't just review a product for 3 or 4 days and send it back. I keep the products. I use them day in and day out. The Canon EOS R5, the 50mm, the 100 to 500, the 200 to 800. I don't believe that you can truly get to know a product in 3 to 4 days, or even 1 to 2 weeks. I think you have to live with these products, eat, sleep, and breathe with them to really understand how it is to use them day in and day out. So if you got any questions, go ahead and post them in the comment section down below. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. And if you do use my affiliate links in the description down below, I do get anywhere from 2 to 12% back. And a big thanks to all of you that have used my affiliate links in the past. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.